The observation deck of the Crithian warship Apex Fang hummed with tension as Captain Vexthrall watched the security feeds with growing concern. His obsidian scales rippled with agitation, reflecting the cold blue light of the monitors. "Explain this to me again," he growled, his predatory eyes fixed on the screen showing the human quarters. Lieutenant Shakar, his second in command, shifted nervously. "The human, Ivy, she calls herself, introduced our cubs to something called a pillow 3 cycles ago. Now they refuse to leave her alone." Vexthrall had opposed bringing the human aboard from the start. Humans were paradoxes wrapped in soft flesh, simultaneously the most dangerous and most inexplicably compassionate species in the known galaxy. They had conquered death worlds, survived extinction events, and somehow still found time to domesticate apex predators on their own planet for companionship. The feed showed Ivy sitting cross-legged in her quarters, surrounded by 6 Crithian cubs. Each cub was the size of a small hovercar, covered in razor-sharp scales, with jaws capable of crushing tritanium. They were bred to be warriors, trained from hatching to hunt and kill. Currently, they were purring. "By the void," Vexthrall whispered. "What has she done to them?" 3 cycles earlier, Ivy had been working in the engineering bay alongside Jassy, the ship's human mechanic. They were the only 2 humans aboard the Crithian vessel, part of an exchange program following the Treaty of Andromeda's Edge. "Hey, Jassy, did you pack your pillow?" Ivy asked, wiping grease from her hands. Jassy looked up from the plasma conduit he was repairing. "Yeah, why? Don't tell me you forgot yours." "Not forgot. Lost. In that reactor incident last week." Ivy sighed. "I haven't slept properly in days. These Crithians sleep on flat stone slabs. Stone, Jassy!" Before Jassy could respond, a hiss echoed through the bay. 3 Crithian cubs bounded in, their trainer nowhere in sight. They were supposed to be confined to the training decks, but cubs were cubs, curious and impossible to contain. The largest cub, barely 2 months old but already massive, approached Ivy with predatory grace, its nostrils flared, sampling her scent. "Easy there," Ivy murmured, not moving. She'd learned that showing fear to Crithians was like blood in water to sharks. The cub tilted its head, confused. Most species fled or fought when confronted by Crithian young. This soft creature did neither. "You know what you remind me of?" Ivy said softly. "My cat back on Earth, same attitude." Jassy watched nervously as Ivy slowly reached out and scratched under the cub's jaw, where the scales were softer. The cub's eyes widened, then slowly closed. A deep rumbling emanated from its chest, a sound no Crithian had ever heard their kind make. "Ivy, what are you doing?" Jassy hissed. "Making friends," she replied simply. By the next cycle, word had spread throughout the ship. The human had somehow pacified 3 cubs with nothing but gentle touch and soft sounds. Warriors who had trained for decades to control the cubs stood in amazement as Ivy walked through the corridors with the young predators following her like ducklings. It was then that Ivy made her request to Captain Vexthrall. "I need materials to make pillows," she stated plainly during the ship's daily briefing. "Pillows?" Vexthrall's translator struggled with the unfamiliar term. "Soft cushions filled with synthetic fibers or foam, for comfortable sleeping and resting." The captain's confusion was palpable. "Why would you deliberately make yourself vulnerable during rest? Warriors must remain alert." Ivy exchanged a glance with Jassy, who had accompanied her. "Captain, humans need proper rest to function optimally. We're not warriors by nature. We're endurance hunters. We heal through sleep, process trauma through sleep, consolidate memories through sleep. Quality rest makes us sharper, not weaker." Intrigued despite himself, Vexthrall granted her request for materials. Ivy spent the next 2 days constructing pillows in the recreation bay. The cubs discovered her work immediately, drawn by curiosity. She showed them how the pillows compressed and expanded, how they could be used to support the head or body. The smallest cub, whom Ivy had nicknamed Whiskers, despite its complete lack of whiskers, was the first to try it. The creature lowered its massive head onto the pillow, and something extraordinary happened. The cub's entire body relaxed. The constant tension that all Crithians maintained, even in sleep, simply melted away. Within moments, the cub was unconscious, breathing deeply and evenly. The other cubs watched, then tentatively tried the pillows themselves. Soon, all 6 cubs were sprawled across Ivy's quarters in various states of blissful unconsciousness. "Jassy, come look at this," Ivy called through her comm. When Jassy arrived, he found a scene that would become legendary across the galaxy. A small human woman surrounded by a literal pile of predatory aliens, all sleeping peacefully on human-made pillows. "This is either the most beautiful thing I've ever seen or the most terrifying," Jassy muttered. "Why not both?" Ivy grinned. The cub's transformation was immediate and undeniable. They began seeking out Ivy constantly, bringing her their pillows and demanding her presence at rest time. Their trainers reported improved focus and reduced aggression. The cubs learned faster and retained information better. Captain Vex Thrall couldn't ignore the results. He called Ivy to his command chamber. "Explain," he demanded, gesturing at the security footage of cubs piled atop her sleeping form. "They're children, Captain," Ivy said gently. "Powerful, dangerous children. Yes, but still children. They need comfort, security, and rest. On Earth, we learned millennia ago that even our most aggressive species benefit from compassion and proper care." "You make them soft," Vex Thrall argued, though his conviction wavered. "No, I make them healthy. There's a difference between softness and wellness. A well-rested warrior is a better warrior." The captain studied her for a long moment. "The cubs have requested that you sleep in their den tonight. All 6 of them." Ivy's eyes widened. "That's quite an honor, I think. Among our people, the young only sleep near those they trust absolutely to protect them. You have achieved something no outsider has ever accomplished." Vex Thrall's expression was unreadable. "Do not disappoint them, or me." That night, Jassy helped Ivy carry an armful of pillows to the cubs' den, a vast chamber designed to accommodate growing predators. The cubs greeted her with excited chirps and rumbles, immediately gathering around her. As Ivy settled in with her pillow mountain, the cubs arranged themselves around and atop her, creating a protective barrier of scales and claws. To any observer, she had disappeared under a mountain of alien predators. "You sure you're okay?" Jassy called from the doorway. Ivy's muffled voice emerged from beneath the pile. "I've never felt safer in my life. Humans have been sleeping with dangerous animals since we domesticated wolves. This is just upscaled." Jassy shook his head in wonder. "Humanity, fuck yeah," he muttered, the old rallying cry of their species. As the lights dimmed, Captain Vex Thrall watched the security feed with Jassy. The humans' vital signs were steady, relaxed. The cubs were calmer than he'd ever seen them. "Your species is insane," Vex Thrall said quietly. "Yeah," Jassy agreed with a smile. "But we're also really good at making friends." In the cubs' den, Ivy drifted to sleep beneath her mountain of predators, dreaming of home and the cat that had started it all. Sometimes the greatest weapons weren't claws or fangs or weapons. Sometimes they were pillows, patience, and the inexplicable human need to befriend everything that moved. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity's warships and weapons. Now they would learn to respect something far more dangerous, humanity's capacity for compassion and their gift for teaching others to be gentle. After all, any species could create warriors. But only humans could teach predators to purr.